So for those who don't know, I'm currently in the process of healing / losing my voice, so if my audio does sound a little weird, that is why. But Dr. Stone, episode 11, this episode we make glass, and I have to say I wasn't expecting it, and I also wasn't expecting to make lenses so someone like Suika would be able to see clearly, which it kind of makes sense. I thought it was just going to be a gimmick that the whole melon head thing was just like, something about self-confidence, maybe like didn't like the looks or something like that. But then when you actually see it removed from her head, like she's just a little girl, and then she makes the most demonic and humorous face imaginable, and I absolutely ate that up. I thought it was hilarious. The reactions from the characters was hilarious. But to actually see it was just because she just couldn't see, so she would naturally squint to try to make sense of everything around her, I thought was actually quite funny, and kind of gave motive, not only for someone like Senkuu, who's like, okay, this will be a good test. Let's make glass, let's see if we can make lensware. But also, he recognizes that if this girl couldn't see clearly, yet she was this valuable of an asset all this time, imagine what she could do should she be able to see with 20/20 vision. And the fact that he's kind of driven by this kind of curiosity of, can we do this? But also, I see the potential that this work will be even better than she currently is, should we make her lenses, and I have to say that's absolutely hilarious and just malicious, and I eat that up. But it is nice to see the idea of how they kind of created glass, and they actually did a pretty good job at showing the step-by-steps without making it feel boring, and kind of gave you that awe-inspiring moment, similar to the characters around them like Chrome, and just the awe-inspiring moments that just lead up to the kind of trying to build glass. And just making a circular disc, that's something that kind of novices, if they had the kind of step-by-step instructions, should be able to do. But when it gets into the more glassware in terms of like the vases and things like that, that's something that shouldn't naturally just be something they easily do, but thankfully they didn't go that route. But I have to say that entire build-up was really just sweet, because even though Senkuu is a man who does things because he sees the potential in a better worker, it is something that he recognizes was going to change Suika's life, and to see just how they made the glassware. I'm really happy that they just put the lenses in the melon head, because really in this day and age, there's not much you could really do for like attractive lenses, so just let her keep the current helmet that she's been wearing all this time, and to see just how happy she was, literally tears of joy, finally able to see what a sunflower is. She can recognize what a sunflower is, but she couldn't see the clarity to it, and to just see that moment, it was really sweet. I have to say, I really liked that, even though it was done so you could have a better worker and to just kind of test, could you make glassware? It also was something to help a friend in need, and I really liked that overall. I just felt like they really got that sweet atmosphere without dropping that Senkuu charm, which, honestly, the Senkuu charm is a guy who can both look like a villain, but he can also look like a jokester, but also the kindest man you'll ever meet. It really all matters on basically what scene's at hand, because within a matter of minutes, he's gonna flip between them, and I absolutely love it. But even though they did very well with the whole like eyeglass and things like that, they didn't do too well with the glasses and things like that. And I like that, because really I wasn't aware that they had this old man who's like this master craftsman. Which it does make sense. I mean, we did already see that there was a shield of really high quality made, so it wasn't surprising that there would be someone who had very just knowledgeable skills. Even if they've never made glass themselves, they would have the instinct to basically craft and figure out what to do once they see the impossible. So to actually see this old man kind of get roped in, literally tie him up, drag him there, he wants no part of the sorcery, but once you show him what you're doing, his mind's gonna start racing. He's basically like Senkuu. Once you show him something he's never seen, and he has the natural instincts to make it, it's just a match made in heaven. And to see the muscles on man ripping through the ropes and just showing how it's done, this was really cool. Because honestly, this would have been the first point in the series that I thought they kind of jumped the shark, where if Senkuu would have been able to craft this glass by himself in this polished of a way, that would have been ridiculous, even for this show, because it takes a lot of experience to be able to do something like this. This is an art, but to have someone who naturally has been making just amazing objects all his life, it naturally makes sense that once you have the tools there, someone like that could show you how it's done and kind of teach you the ways of the road. And that's what I really like, is that Dr. Stone isn't letting up, not only just with its funny reactions. I have to say, the reactions in general are absolutely hilarious, but it understands how to teach the viewer what it is they're doing and make us feel like they actually had to work for it. Senkuu in this episode says, hell, it took me 3 months to make a good clay pot. And that's how long, if not longer, it should have took him to make glass in this way. A circular round disc, sure, he can do that with the knowledge he has, but very finely detailed holding ware, like that's something that should need a very talented hand to do, and I'm glad that they had that within the village so we could just speed by it but make us feel like they still had to work for it. Dr. Stone is really doing an interesting job at keeping it overall fun, interesting, and kind of teaching the viewer in a very basic, not obviously overly detailed way, of how things are being made while keeping it Dr. Stone all at the same time. I just feel like they really have this interesting formula that I wouldn't even be mad if more anime kind of copied and pasted into a different setting in the future, because it really does show you just how interesting this series is when the entire point of this episode was characters standing around making eyeglasses and a bunch of just dishes so they could hold their chemicals. That is literally what this episode was. That is all it was, and it was so entertaining. Not only because of the comedy, which every time the characters fail, I kind of think my favorite part of the show is when they fail, because we get a new reaction. Something that's just making their jaw drop, they're pissed off, they're shocked, and they just don't know what to say. The animation is always great just with how they kind of transition around it, but the art style when they give us those freeze frames is wallpaper comedy gold. But when we get into the dialogue and just seeing what they're doing and how inspired they are, obviously sometimes you get the dialogue like, oh, they're all so interested in rocks and shiny minerals, who cares about that? But at the end of the day, what's happening here is literally a turning point. It took millions of years to get up to where we're currently at with our modern civilization. Senkuu firmly believes that he's going to do it within his lifespan, which, could you do this? Probably not. I mean, even if someone has read 1,000 books, has a photographic memory, it just feels like realistically it's impossible. But at the same time, Senku's the kind of man that you just kind of wish that maybe we should all go read some books. If one day the world ends, we can rebuild civilization, right? It does that thing that you'll want an anime like this to do. A lot of times with like shonens and things like that, people get inspired by its main character at the beginning because they're like, oh, look at this heroic guy. But then by the end of the show, they're like, oh man, this character was so poorly written. Why did we ever like this character to begin with? But with something like Senkuu, he gives you that same impression where you're inspired by him. You want to be like him. You want to be able to be as intelligent as him, so you could create these just wicked plans and recreate civilization should you need to. Obviously, we're not going to be able to do that, but I like how Dr. Stone has that shonen formula where it inspires you with its main character, so you want to be like him, you want to follow him, and you always are interested in what he has to say or what he's doing. And that's incredibly important because we're back in the Stone Age. There isn't a lot going on around here. Without Senkuu, really, they would just be, fighting in the arena, things like that. They don't got much going on. But with Senkuu, he has this way of looking to the future that no one else besides him would be able to do. And I absolutely love just how inspiring this show is while being completely entertaining with absolutely absurd comedy. And I think most people can agree this is why the show got so popular, because it just has a formula that works and feels so unique and original. I absolutely love the OST in this series. It's not always present, but anytime they bring up the soundtrack, it is so good. It literally matches the atmosphere so well. It almost feels magical, it's inspiring, it's just completely gripping. I'm really excited to listen to this full soundtrack whenever it gets released. I'm not sure if they've already released a good amount of tracks or if we're gonna have to wait a while, but I'm really interested to listen to this because it really does feel like nature. It's kind of how I put a lot of the music. Sometimes you hear some instrumentals, but a lot of the times it feels like the way the music is being composed, it almost feels like you're pulling nature and turning it into music. And I really like that. It really does capture this kind of caveman era in a very majestic way because there's really no technology. There's no civilization like we currently look at it, but you have a man who's pushing forward to bring us back up 2 million years in the future. And I love how the music really does tell the story, get the emotions from all the characters, and really explains what's going on in just a majestic manner that I think most people can probably agree. The soundtrack's pretty phenomenal. I mean, the opening was always great, the ending's always great, but the music in particular, especially when it needs to get you kind of give you those shivers, the butterflies as you're seeing something majestic, and the music captures that so phenomenally, and I love it, especially when you hear some of the characters just completely shocked. Their faces kind of say it all because they're like, what the hell is this shiny thing? It looks like, wait, are we seeing through that? That doesn't make sense. And then the way the music, the reactions, it just works in harmony and it is just so phenomenal. I really just think Dr. Stone, it's just something that I feel kind of foolish because I did have my doubts in the beginning and it was mainly due to the trailer. I thought the trailer just kind of brushed it off as being more of a comedy without much serious atmosphere to it. But I do have to say, I do feel silly because every episode, even though the past 5 episodes have more or less been the same quality, top tier, really gripping, I love everything about them. it does feel as if, like, the more things we see made, it just feels like, of course, that's the next step. Of course we're making glass. I'll admit, at the start, I was like, okay, they want to make windows. Why not? But then when you see what they actually need glass for, because if you're gonna make medicine, you can't make it in a clay pot. Oh, Brandon, you're an idiot. Of course they can't make it in a clay pot. As it kind of like, oh shit, I thought they were just gonna make pills in a clay pot. I'm an idiot. I just love how it just captures you. It just is this interesting formula that it's one of my favorite shows to watch week by week. It's so interesting. It's so unique. It's just full of personality within the characters themselves, but the world, the universe that they're living in. This show is so spectacular, and if it doesn't get multiple seasons, I am going to be a very sad person, and I'll have to read the manga. But I think this is definitely going to get more seasons, at least one more season, because it's doing well streaming. I'm sure the merchandise is going to sell well. I just think Dr. Stone, with how popular its source material is, it would be crazy if this anime didn't do well, which currently it seems like it is. Overall, I'm just impressed once again with Dr. Stone. Loved it. What did everyone think? Manga readers, anime originals, whatever you're feeling, let me know down in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like and also hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.